When I stepped out of Jonathan Reed's office, the air in the corridor felt thin, sharp, like I had walked into a different world altogether. My heels clicked against the polished floor, each step echoing louder than it should have. But inside me, there was no sound at all. Only silence. A heavy, crushing silence that wrapped itself around me like chains. His words kept repeating in my mind. I've seen Daniel with someone else. Every syllable felt branded into my memory. No matter how I tried to push them aside, they circled back, sharper each time. The elevator doors closed, sealing me inside a mirrored box. I caught my reflection, my face pale, lips pressed thin, eyes wide and glassy. I looked like a woman who had just been told her life was a lie. Don't believe him, I whispered to myself. My voice trembled, fragile even to my own ears. Daniel loves you. He wouldn't. But doubt had already slipped in. It was small at first, like a crack in glass, but with each passing second, it widened. What if Jonathan wasn't lying? What if he had only said aloud what I had been refusing to see? The ride down felt endless, yet when the doors opened to the bustling lobby, the world outside was unchanged. People walked briskly with their coffee cups, phones pressed to their ears, their lives steady and intact. And there I was carrying a secret so heavy it threatened to crush me. The drive home, I don't remember much of the drive back. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, but my mind was far from the road. My thoughts spun wildly every late night Daniel had explained away, every sudden business trip, every distracted glance across the dinner table. Had those been signs? Had I missed them because I was too eager to believe in the picture of a perfect marriage? By the time I pulled into our driveway, my chest felt tight, as though I hadn't taken a full breath since leaving that office. The house looked the same, warm, familiar. The little garden we had planted together blooming with stubborn color despite the grey sky. But stepping inside, I felt like a stranger walking into someone else's life. The scent of coffee still lingered. From the morning, the half-folded blanket lay across the couch. Everything was ordinary, and yet nothing was. I dropped my purse on the counter and stood in the kitchen, staring at the clock. Daniel would be home in 2 hours. 2 hours until I had to decide whether to ask, whether to confront, whether to even believe. My hands shook. As I poured a glass of water, it tasted bitter, metallic. My stomach twisted in knots, refusing to settle. Doubts and memories, I sat on the couch, curling my legs beneath me, hugging the blanket like a shield. My mind wandered back to the beginning, our wedding day. Daniel's nervous smile as I walked down the aisle, the way his hand had trembled when he placed the ring on my finger. His whispered vow, "You'll always be the only one." The memory stabbed at me now. Was it a lie even then? Or had something changed along the way? Tears blurred my vision, and I pressed my palms against my eyes. I hated that Jonathan Reed's words had this power over me, planting seeds of suspicion that I couldn't rip out. I hated that, for the first time in my marriage, I doubted Daniel. But what if it was true? The thought was poison. It spread quickly, filling every corner of me with ache. If it was true, then my life as I knew it wasn't real. I couldn't sit still anymore. I rose and paced the living room, my heart thudding with each step. I rehearsed questions in my head. Were you with someone else? Have you been lying to me? Do you love me? Each question hurt more than the last. Daniel's arrival, when I finally heard the familiar sound of the garage door opening, my breath caught. My legs felt heavy as I stood frozen, waiting for the moment he would walk in. Daniel entered with his usual tired smile. His tie loosened, his hair slightly mussed from the long day. "Hey, sweetheart," he greeted, setting his briefcase down. Watched him carefully, my eyes searching for cracks, guilt, hesitation, anything. But he looked the same as always. Normal. Loving. My Daniel. "Hi," I said softly, forcing a smile. He leaned down and kissed my cheek. His lips were warm, gentle. But instead of comfort, I felt a shiver of doubt run through me. "How was your day?" he asked, loosening his tie further. The question sliced through me. How could I tell him that his boss had just shattered my world with a few sentences? That I didn't know whether to believe him or my own husband? It was fine, I said, my voice thin. Just quiet. Daniel nodded, moving toward the kitchen to pour himself a drink. I watched him closely, every movement under scrutiny. Did he look nervous? Did he avoid my eyes? Or was I just imagining it because Jonathan had poisoned my thoughts? The conversation that changed everything. Dinner was quiet, filled with small talk I barely absorbed. I nodded at the right times, forced smiles, but my mind was a battlefield. By the time we cleared the dishes, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Daniel," I said. Suddenly, my voice sharper than intended. He looked up, surprised. "Yeah?" My heart pounded, but I forced the words out. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." His brow furrowed, concern flickering in his eyes. "Of course. What is it?" I hesitated, my throat dry. The silence stretched long, painful, until finally I whispered the words. "Are you seeing someone else?" The effect was immediate. Daniel froze, his glass halfway to his lips. His eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in confusion. "What? No! Why would you even ask me that?" Tears pricked my eyes. "Because your boss Jonathan, he called me to his office today, and he told me he's seen you with another woman. More than once." The color drained from Daniel's face. His jaw tightened, his hands clenched. For a moment he said nothing. The silence was louder than any scream. I braced myself for denial, for anger, for anything that would prove Jonathan's words wrong. But what I saw instead was worse. Guilt. My chest cracked open. "So it's true," I whispered, my voice breaking. Daniel closed his eyes, exhaling shakily. "It's not what you think." The words made me tremble with rage and despair. "Don't you dare say that," I cried, tears streaming down my cheeks now. "Don't you dare stand there and tell me it's not what I think when you couldn't even deny it." He reached for me, but I pulled away, my body shaking. "Emily, please," he begged. "I made a mistake. It wasn't serious. It wasn't. I swear it didn't mean anything compared to you." His words cut me deeper. A mistake didn't mean anything. How could betrayal ever mean nothing? My knees weakened and I sank onto the couch, sobs racking my body. The man I had trusted, the man I had loved with every part of me, had broken the very vow he made. And all it took was Jonathan Reed's words to shatter my world. The aftermath. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Daniel beside me in restless silence. My mind replayed every moment of the day, Jonathan's calm voice, the weight of his gaze, the quiet confession from my husband. Jonathan had been right. My life was not the same anymore. By morning, I realized something. My day had changed. Yes, but not just the day. My entire life had shifted. The woman I was yesterday no longer existed. She was gone, replaced by someone who carried both betrayal and truth inside her. The room felt too quiet. The ticking of the elegant gold clock on Jonathan Reed's wall echoed like a drum in my ears, each second dragging my anxiety further along. I sat across from him, my back stiff, my hands resting in my lap, pretending. Calm I did not feel. His gaze was steady, too steady, like he could see right past my nervous facade and straight into my thoughts. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, deliberate and heavy with meaning. "Mrs. Collins, there are some things I believe you need to know about Daniel." My stomach flipped. My husband's name spoken in that slow, calculated tone. It felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice thinner than I intended. Jonathan leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. The city's skyline stretched behind him, but his sharp eyes were locked on mine. "Daniel is a good employee," he began. "Hardworking, loyal to the firm. But lately, his focus has been elsewhere." I blinked at him, my throat tightening. "Elsewhere? How so?" Jonathan tilted his head, studying me. For a moment, I thought I saw something almost sympathetic flicker in his eyes, but it vanished just as quickly. "Let's just say he's been making choices that could put his career and perhaps even his marriage at risk." My chest constricted. The words landed like blows, each one pulling me deeper into a storm I wasn't prepared for. "What are you implying?" I whispered, heat rising to my face. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he rose from his chair and walked toward the tall window, his hands clasped behind his back. His reflection stared back at us in the glass broad. Shoulders, commanding presence, and me, small and uncertain in the background. "I don't enjoy being the bearer of such truths," he said at last. "And I believe honesty, however painful, is better than ignorance." The room seemed colder now. My fingers twisted in my lap as my mind raced. Was he talking about work mistakes? Or... No, surely not. Not something more personal. My heart pounded as I forced myself to ask, "Are you saying Daniel did something?" Jonathan turned back to face me, his expression unreadable. Slowly, he walked back toward the desk, stopping just close enough that I could feel the weight of his presence. His voice dropped lower, intimate, as if confiding a secret. "I've seen Daniel with someone else." My breath hitched so sharply I almost gasped. "Someone else?" He nodded once, his face grave. "Another woman. Not once, not twice, but on several occasions. At lunches, after work, even leaving her apartment." The words cut like knives. For a moment, I thought I hadn't heard him right. My ears rang with the force of it. The air felt too thin, my chest struggling to expand. I pressed a hand against the armrest of the chair, grounding myself before I could speak. You must be mistaken," I stammered. "Daniel would never, he wouldn't." Jonathan shook his head slowly, almost pityingly. "I wish I were wrong, but I don't speak without certainty." Tears burned at the corners of my eyes, but I blinked them back, refusing to let them fall in front of him. My mind scrambled through every memory, every conversation with Daniel over the past few weeks. The late nights, the excuses, the sudden bursts of silence when I asked too many questions. Had I ignored the signs? I swallowed hard, forcing myself to meet Jonathan's eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" For a long moment he was silent. His gaze softened, and he exhaled slowly before answering. "Because you deserve to know the truth. And because, Mrs. Collins, sometimes a person's loyalty blinds them to reality. I can't stand by and watch you live in the dark." My heart twisted painfully. A part of me wanted to believe him, but another part screamed that this was wrong, that my husband couldn't possibly be guilty of such betrayal. And yet, why would Jonathan lie? What would he gain from planting such poison in my heart? I shook, my head, my voice trembling. "No, Daniel loves me. He wouldn't do this to me." Jonathan stepped closer, his tone gentler now, almost coaxing. "Love doesn't always stop people from making mistakes. Sometimes it blinds them into believing they won't be caught. His words lingered in the air, thick and suffocating. My chest ached with the effort to hold myself together. The image of Daniel smiling at me across the dinner table, whispering, "I love you," before leaving for work. It clashed violently with the picture Jonathan had painted. I wanted to scream, to demand proof, to storm out of that office and call my husband immediately. But instead, I sat frozen, my voice coming out small. Why me? Why not tell him directly? Why drag me into this? Jonathan's eyes darkened, and for the first time, I caught something unguarded, a flicker of emotion, maybe even personal interest. Because, Mrs. Collins, sometimes the truth needs to be heard from someone who cares enough to deliver it gently. Daniel won't listen to me. But you. He paused, his gaze holding mine with unsettling intensity. You matter more to him than anyone. If there's a chance to stop him before he ruins everything, it begins with you. My pulse thudded in my ears. The weight of his words was crushing, filling me with dread and confusion. I felt as though I had stepped into a world I no longer recognized, one where love and betrayal blurred into each other, where truth and manipulation danced side by side. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. My lips trembled. My mind screamed questions. Was this compassion or control? Was he warning me or pulling me into something deeper than I could see? Jonathan leaned forward then, his voice dropping to a whisper meant only for me. Believe me when I say this, Mrs. Collins, your life may never be the same after today. That was the moment I knew. Whatever Jonathan Reed had just told me was more than simple words. It was a turning point. A crack in the world I thought I knew. A storm had been unleashed, and I was standing at its center, bracing for the truth or the lies that would follow. The day started like any other, though I should have sensed from the beginning that it would not remain ordinary. The air was heavy with the lingering chill of early morning rain, and the sky still wore a blanket of grey clouds that threatened to weep again. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping lukewarm coffee, staring at the droplets running down the glass window, as though they could tell me the story of what was about to unfold. My husband, Daniel, had already left for work an hour earlier. He was punctual to the bone, the kind of man who believed in never keeping his superiors waiting. Daniel worked at a prestigious real estate firm in the city, one of those places where appearances mattered as much as results. His boss, Mr. Jonathan Reed, was a man Daniel both admired and feared. Jonathan was known for his sharp mind, his commanding presence, and his uncanny ability to make people feel small with just a glance. I had never been close to Jonathan, though I'd met him a handful of times during company dinners and holiday gatherings. He was tall, impeccably dressed, with dark hair peppered with grey, and a voice that carried authority in every syllable. There was something about him that made me uneasy, though I couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the way his eyes seemed to linger longer than they should, or how he always spoke with a measured calmness, as if he already knew what everyone else was about to say. So when my phone buzzed that morning, and his name appeared on the screen, I froze. Jonathan Reed. I stared at the glowing letters, my heart skipping a beat. Why was he calling me? Not Daniel, but me. A wave of unease swept through me. Had something happened at work? Was Daniel in trouble? My mind scrambled for explanations, but none seemed fitting. I hesitated before answering, pressing the phone to my ear with trembling fingers. Hello? I managed, my voice tight. Good morning, Mrs. Collins. Jonathan's deep voice came through, smooth and deliberate. I hope I didn't disturb you. No, not at all, I lied, already shifting uncomfortably in my chair. Is everything all right? Yes, he said, pausing briefly. I'd like you to come by my office this afternoon. There's something I need to discuss with you personally. My breath caught. Personally? Me? I repeated, my tone sharper than intended. Yes, you. It won't take long. 3 o'clock. I'll be waiting. And before I could ask another question, the line went dead. The rest of the morning dragged like hours stretched into days. Every little sound, the ticking of the wall clock, the clinking of the faucet dripping seemed amplified against the silence of my worry. Why would my husband's boss want to see me? My imagination ran wild. Maybe Daniel had made a mistake at work, and Jonathan thought I could persuade him to fix it. Maybe it was about some company event. Or maybe, though, I dared not linger on. The thought, it was something much more personal. I changed outfits 3 times before settling on a simple navy blue dress. Nothing flashy but decent enough for a formal office setting. As I brushed my hair and applied a touch of makeup, I caught my reflection in the mirror. My face betrayed the turmoil inside me, cheeks flushed, eyes filled with questions, lips pressed tight in unease. By the time I reached the towering glass building where Daniel worked, my palms were slick with sweat. The receptionist, a young woman with a practiced smile, recognized me immediately. "Mrs. Collins," she said politely. "Mr. Reed is expecting you. Top floor." Her words only deepened the knot in my stomach. The elevator ride felt endless. As the numbers blinked upward, 20, 21, 22, my chest tightened. I remembered all the times Daniel had come home late, exhausted, talking about how demanding Jonathan was, how nothing ever seemed good enough for him. I also remembered how Jonathan's gaze had sometimes lingered on me during dinners, his eyes sharp and unreadable. When the elevator doors slid open to the top floor, I stepped into a hallway lined with frosted glass doors and rich mahogany accents. The silence was heavy, broken only by the muffled hum of distant phones. At the end of the corridor stood a single wide door, polished to a shine. Jonathan Reed's office. I knocked softly, my knuckles grazing the wood. "Come in," came his deep voice. The door swung open, revealing an office that seemed more like a suite than a workplace. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city skyline, and the late afternoon light streamed in golden streaks across the polished floor. A massive desk sat near the center, papers neatly stacked, a glass decanter of amber liquid resting. On the side, Jonathan rose from behind the desk, his tailored suit fitting him like a second skin. He gestured toward the leather chair opposite him. "Mrs. Collins, please sit." My legs felt heavy as I moved forward and lowered myself into the chair. His presence filled the room, commanding without effort. I clasped my hands together in my lap, trying to steady their tremble. "You're probably wondering why I called you here," he said, leaning back in his chair, studying me with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. "Yes," I admitted softly. "I am." He folded his hands, his eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "It's about your husband." My breath caught again, and I felt the world tilt just a little. That was the moment everything shifted. The moment that one call, one summons, transformed an ordinary day into something else entirely. The fact that Jonathan Reed wanted me, not Daniel, in his office told me this wasn't just business. It was personal, deeply personal. I sat there, bracing myself, knowing that whatever words would follow were about to change the course of my day, and maybe much more than that.